All right, boom, live episode number. Is this 15, guys?
Yeah,
Episode one
1-5.
five. That's kind of a milestone. People wait like 25 or 50, 75,
Nah,
or
man.
100. I like this 1-5. It feels right.
Yeah.
Box to box.
Crazy.
We're back. I'm joined by Alina, Andre, mainstay hosts on the Box to Box pod. Guys, we're recording on a Monday. How was the weekend?
Man, mine was actually decent. I went to Comic-Con yesterday.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you guys
Sick.
know what that is,
I'm very
right?
familiar with
It's
For
Comic-Con,
sure. Yeah.
lots of cosplays and I had one idea and I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be so cool if there was like a football related con where you just go there and like meet fellow football fans and like buy jerseys and like
Yeah.
boots and it'd be so
There's
fun.
there are like smaller things that kind of exist like that, but nothing as giant as Comic-Con. Did you go dressed up?
No, I wanted to, but I couldn't. I had an idea. I wanted to go as Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Love it.
But I was like, oh my gosh, it was just too expensive, and I didn't have time to put everything together. So I might do that for next year.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Comic-Con's
awesome.
its own unique beast. But how you feel about Juve? Juve, Lazio?
Oh yeah, 3-0. We are third, which it's insane.
You couldn't ask for more heading into the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you wanted.
Exactly. It's insane to think like maybe a month ago, and now we are top three, not comfortably, but we are really close with Milan, and then we're still quite far away from Napoli. But we'll see. We'll see how the January goes.
Yeah, seriously. And that's where we are now, guys. Episode 15, as we're recording this now, club football has just wrapped up kind of globally for the most part. And we're heading into the final week, the final days before the World Cup kicking off on Sunday. And I couldn't be more excited. And just before we jump into what we have on the agenda for today, guys, Box to Box presented by GOLZtv. Goals has been live for 6 weeks now. Definitely go check it out. It's your home for free, unlimited footy content. That is Goals, GOLZ. TV. And if you haven't already, if you're watching this on YouTube today, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, I would say comment below. We have the final predictions heading into the World Cup, groups G and H on the agenda for today. If you guys have any crazy hot takes within the realm of reality, because I have seen some interesting comments already on some of the previous videos, within the realm of reality, right? If you're telling us Iran's going to score, 15 goals in the group stage, I'm not here for that. But I think when it comes to, things that are just spicy in general, drop those down below. Let us know what you think. We have a lot of notes to cover through groups G and H today, but super excited for it. Before we get in there, though, a lot of reactions on the internet now to all of the many World Cup roster announcements that have been going on over the last few days. I don't want to go through every single roster because we'll be here. This will be like a 9-hour episode. I don't want to go through every single roster announcement that came. But I think that when we think about some of the fans that are probably tuning into this show, I imagine U.S. men's national team and El Tri are probably two of the ones that most are talking about, most are paying attention to. So I do want to jump into some of those reactions. I think that there was some interesting inclusions, some interesting exclusions. But let's start with our resident L3 expert, Andre. How was the roster announcement? Came at an interesting time. It was right after the Iraq 4-0, tune-up match heading into this final leg before the World Cup. How do you feel about this team now that we know who is going into Qatar?
Still not good. I mean, you gotta believe in whoever is there, right? Like if you're there, screw it. Like,
bro, 4-0 though.
Yeah, it was a good win. It's also Iraq. Do they even play soccer there? I don't know. But it was a good win. I think we needed it mentally more than anything. I think the media was pushing and pressing. They needed answers, right? Like, how are we going to look? What's the lineup going to look like? So the boys showed up, which is great to see. But on paper, I mean, how do you exclude a guy who's banging in goals left and right in the Eredivisie like Santi Jimenez, and then also somebody like Diego Lainez, we don't have a player like Diego Lainez, like period. Lefty, very tricky, crafty on the ball. So those two exclusions to me are really eye opening because you take the likes of Raul Jimenez, a guy who hasn't played in 2.5 months. And you say, okay, well, let's hope you're close to 100% getting to the World Cup. Like, I don't know. To me, that one felt like.
What did Tata say? What did Tata say the reason was? for excluding Santi? Like I can't remember.
He said something about we have enough firepower at the number 9 position, something like that.
I thought that was kind of ironic, but yeah,
that's my point. I'm like, that you don't though. Like, are you gonna take your boy Funes Mori as he's gonna be a starter against Poland? I don't know. So that those two for me were
scored against Iraq, bro.
Were huge. Once we moved on from Chicharito and Vela, which we obviously have been talking about for a while, you wouldn't expect somebody like Santi Jimenez to be left off. I mean, he's been banging in goals for Feyenoord left and right in Europe. So it's crazy to me. Another big snub, and this has nothing to do with El Tri, is Renato Sanchez. He's not going to Portugal, which to me, that one is a big one. Renato Sanchez was one of the best midfielders in Europe last year, in my opinion.
Last year, yeah, but he hasn't done anything in PSG this season.
I know, but
Vitinha has been more effective. And
I mean,
they almost have too many midfielders.
Well, and they have too many forwards, too. If you saw the list, it's like, I think they have like 7 or 8 forwards that they called up, and I'm like, okay, like you don't have Diego Jota because he got injured, which that's not a big deal. But I don't know, dude. You don't want depth in that like 6/8 position. I don't know.
Sure. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to kind of the biggest surprise inclusion, the biggest surprise exclusion. I think that we'll talk about it here in a second. But I think that with L3 specifically, I agree with what you were saying on specifically the Santi front. I just didn't understand Tata's logic for not including him.
I agree.
I feel like you only have 2 to maybe 3 tried and true forwards that are coming into Qatar from Mexico. If one gets injured, you're going to have to start playing around with pieces in a flexible way. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happens to the forward line.
Yeah.
U.S. men's national team. I think there was so much buzz around this. I don't want to state the obvious here and say that Berhalter just maybe overthought this. I don't know. They may not even be obvious, right? Is leaving Ricardo Pepi at home that big of a deal? Now that I think about it a little bit more.
I think it's not even just about the Pepe thing. I think it's a combination of decisions that he made. Leaving Pepe at home, bringing in Jordan Morris, who hasn't been in his best form, leaving Zach Steffen at home, who's his boy from the 2015-2016 days at Columbus Crew, then leaving Paul Arriola, who used to wear the captain's armband all throughout World Cup qualifying. I mean, those 3 are, to me, pretty massive exclusions. The Pepe one is kind of eye-opening. I mean, the guy scored 3 or 4 goals in World Cup qualifying for your team.
That's fair.
He did move to the Eredivisie and at Groningen, he's scoring goals. The move to the Bundesliga for Augsburg did not make sense. I think everybody noticed it. But now that he's playing in Holland, he's doing well. But then to leave guys like Jordan Pefok out as well, I don't know. Those 4 for me are kind of like, dude, if I were to make the list before that, those 4 would be on my list. Like, those would be untouchables, right? And then you bring in guys who are like 18, 19 years old who've played maybe 2 or 3 times for the national team. You're like, what are they going to bring? Like, is that the depth that you wanted? You just wanted a fresh 18-year-old? Like, I don't know. Those 4 for me are kind of the biggest decisions that he made. I don't know.
I think the one that I was surprised by the most was Jordan Morris.
Yep.
No hate on the Sounders, no hate on his come up in this in
Dude,
Major League Soccer.
Even Sounders fans said that. Like, you know, what is he doing?
I think you're leaving real talent at home by including him, and he's got pace, but that's
pretty much it.
That's the most you can offer. I think he's not that clinical of a finisher. His movement's okay around the box. It's just his blistering runs, usually with the ball. I would say sometimes even without the ball. If he makes the run, he's a great asset to have. But if he doesn't, then he's just out there, right? Yeah. So I think I agree with you. You know, for the most part, I think, and the U.S. men's national team, the reactions on football Twitter were fucking amazing.
It was funny. It was funny.
You know, the whole spectacle that U.S. men's national team did, right? They were live in New York. They had Berhalter on stage with Twellman and a bunch of other guys, and the whole video that all the FaceTime calls, him calling everybody. It's romantic to think that the U.S. men's national team is on some mission to go out there and surprise people in Qatar. I just don't see it based on the roster that he's taking.
And who's gone. Yeah, exactly.
And who's going, right? Like, we'll see. Am I mad that guys like Arriola didn't make it, though? In all honesty, bro, I've been so critical of him with FC Dallas that I'm just like...
It's fair. You see him more than I do, I guess. But I don't know.
I don't know if he's that lethal.
And that's fine. I think for me, it's more about the people and the players that you've had throughout the entire process. to continue building upon that, and then you add pieces here and there, as opposed to just like starting. It looked like he started from scratch. He basically had a blank canvas, and he went, all right, one by one, like literally 1 through 26. Who are we going to put in? And it all came down to, I mean, he said it. He's like, if the World Cup roster was announced a month ago, Pefok and Pepe would have been in it. And it's like, dude, 1 month really did that really sway you that hard? Just 30 days? Like, I don't understand. Like, if the World Cup was a month from now, would that sway you again? Like, I get it to a certain extent, but not with guys like that. Like, Pepe would give you something off the bench when it's 80th minute against England and you need to score a goal. Like, I just don't know who else is going to do that. You're going to bring in Jordan Morris and Carlos Roldan to get you a score?
Jesus Ferreira, bro.
He's
gonna turn Harry Maguire and he's gonna score.
No
I'm
dude.
pumped for it, bro.
I just don't see it. I hope you're right.
Harry Maguire starting. If Harry Maguire starting, bro, I will take that bet. But if Southgate is smart and he starts literally any other informed center back, then yeah, bro, I agree. I think it's going to be really tough for the U.S. to see goals.
Yeah.
Ben White should be starting at right back, but we'll see, bro. We'll see. I don't put anything past Southgate. Either way, when it comes to U.S. and Mexico, just to wrap this part of it up, I don't expect U.S. to do much. I think with L3 they have maybe a shot. I kind of hope Mexico tanks for the sole purpose of getting Tata Martino out. Think about it, bro.
That's fair.
If Mexico tanks it, they're going to line up real youth. Think about all the youth that the league has right now, especially coming off of the Pachuca one.
Yeah.
How much youth the league has heading into 2026, where it's going to be North American World Cup all the way through. You'll have a ton of home field advantage. I don't know. It's almost the perfect storm if you get this coach out of there.
I think regardless of what I keep hearing is regardless of how Mexico performs, he's still out the door. Like, I think he's going to Boca Juniors in Argentina.
If Mexico goes to the semifinals of the World Cup, that's going to be a much harder task.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But then at that point, it's like, well, then he's proving us wrong. Like,
that's fair. I'm just saying, if he goes to the semifinals, we'll all have a lot to question. But
and it's going to be up to him too. Like, does he want to stay another 3.5 years for the next World Cup? I don't know. Either way, I agree with you. I think it's going to be very interesting. That first game against Poland is going to dictate how the rest of the group goes. Yeah. And, we'll see what happens. Actually, funny story. I don't know if you guys have been playing it, but on FIFA 23, they released the World Cup version of it. So I played with Mexico yesterday, and I was like, let's see how far we go. I made it to quarterfinals, and I lost to England. So made it out of the group.
Made it out of the groups, bro. Made it out of groups.
So I don't know.
Can ask for.
We'll see.
There it is. That you heard it here first. Mexico's making it out of groups.
Quarterfinals, fifth game.
Before we move on to World Cup predictions with groups G and H, Alina, biggest surprise inclusion on any roster and biggest surprise exclusion. Like, who are you surprised to see going? Who are you surprised to see not going?
That's an interesting question, because mostly in terms of the Serie A, at least, because that's what I usually watch the most of, because I'm a Juve fan. I saw a lot of uproar because Abraham and Smalling weren't called up, which is
Tomori.
And Tomori, yes.
Tomori's more hurtful, though.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, because Smalling, he's old. It's it's time. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what I still think Smalling is better than Maguire, which Maguire is my next point. I don't think he should have been included.
That's fair. We all think that.
He probably thinks.
But yeah, I think I do feel bad for Tomori, because he's had an excellent 2 years at Milan. He won last year, and this year they're second. They got through their Champions League group for the first time in God knows how many years it's been. Yeah.
So do we think Southgate hates the Serie A? Is that it?
No, I don't think that's it, because, for example, Smalling, I don't buy into that hype. Like, I don't think Smalling should have been called up. I know some fans are angry about that. Abraham, he just had the worst time to be out of form in the last 2 months, and I think that justifies him being excluded from the squad, because he's just not performing. Like, you're not going to fill one of your striker spots for someone who's not even scoring goals. So it's just kind of, it's hard for me to stomach that, I know a lot of Abraham fanboys are like, no, you should have taken him. He could have been, a good player off the bench. But I think Kane's pretty much going to play every game, and then you have a lot of other options that are in my opinion, better than Abraham still.
Would you take
but-
so the biggest one for me was
Yeah.
Callum Wilson over Tammy Abraham. I think Abraham gives you a lot more flexibility. Wilson's like
more.
a solid 9. Yeah, I feel like Abraham could play on the wing if you needed him to. Like I don't know. What do you think, Joey? Do you think
Yeah,
that's
I kind of agree. I would say, okay, here's the thing. While I agree with that point that Abraham offers more versatility, but I would still take Callum Wilson. I just think that like he's done my biggest concern with Wilson always is injury. Always, he has this kind of track record, but if he doesn't see any injuries in this tournament, I mean, I think he's just a nice, scrappy change of pace to Harry Kane. Harry Kane has more technical ability, and he will probably rarely come off. But when he does, or if they want to introduce a second striker who's probably going to be a little more active with his runs, who's probably going to be less focused on distribution. Like Harry Kane's distribution is second to none. I don't see many strikers who do what he does. But Wilson will be someone who just offers a little more pace and movement in the box. And not kind of that fox in the box mentality. So I like Callum. I actually think what he's been doing for Newcastle this season so far has been pretty damn good. I do think Tammy could have made it into this team for sure if they maybe sacrificed a midfielder somewhere or something along those lines, because he was good enough to go. It's just, do I mind him not going? Not really. I mean, England has so much talent across every position.
No, that's fair.
Like,
yeah.
There are going to be people that get pissed off. Like
has Callum Wilson even gotten called up? Is this his first call up ever? Does anybody know?
Not ever, I don't think. But he sees a ton of injury. At least in his past few seasons, it's kind of been in and out, and that's why you've had to see guys like GOLZtv create more of a presence attacking wise for Newcastle in lieu of that. But no, I mean, I think I would take Callum Wilson over guys like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, like in that broader lineup of forwards. Like, I think Calvert-Lewin's too much of a similar profile to Harry Kane. I think Wilson offers something a little bit different. So
he does have four call-ups to the national team.
Yeah, so not that many. But I will say Southgate loves the Prem. He loves taking players from the Prem. I think that you can't ignore what Newcastle's doing, being in top 4, top 3 in the Prem right now. So he probably sees all of those things and says, hey, we need to have someone like that. Newcastle is not that team that has like that one out and out striker that that mythical number 9, that prolific number 9 who's going to be out there week in and week out just banging in goals. They kind of have this very scrappy team with a fantastic mentality and chemistry, and they're making it work. I think Callum Wilson will bring some of that to the locker room. So who knows? But I do take him right now over Tammy. My biggest surprising inclusion or exclusion. Go back to what you were saying, Andre. Renato Sanchez, is that the biggest one for you?
Yeah, I think so. For Portugal, especially for a team like that. I just
don't know who you sacrifice. I don't know who do you sacrifice. I mean, Vitinha, Danilo.
No, not Vitinha. I saw somebody that I'm like
Ruben Neves. I mean,
he did. Like I said, he brought like 7 forwards,
players.
which to me was a lot.
Then who would it be? Andre Silva?
No, not Andre Silva, dude. There's a guy, I think I
actually don't even rate Silva that highly, to be honest.
I did like 3 years ago. I feel like now, I don't know. It's just he's kind of past his prime, I guess. I'm looking at the list right now.
I don't think he's past his prime, but he just hasn't been as prolific over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, that's fair.
But while you're looking that up, my biggest surprise inclusion, that's easy, is Harry Maguire. The guy should not be going to the World Cup, and he's not one of the best defenders England has to offer. The fact that he's there is honestly kind of an insult to actual defenders. And then the biggest surprise exclusion not going. Damn, this one's tough, man. I feel like I'm going to stick with the U.S. men's national team on this one because it's who I'm going to be cheering for at the end of the day. I do think I saw a stat. It's the first time in history that a player who has scored at least 3+ goals in the final stages of qualifying for a national team was not called up. I do think Ricardo Pepi's profile is missing in this team heavily. I don't think guys like Ferreira, maybe even Josh Sargent will be able to get the job done. And when they need someone who's got height, physicality, a little bit of pace, and can combine with other midfielders, I think they're going to miss someone like Pepi dramatically. Either way, though, Pepi... I don't know. Did he choose the wrong national team? Should he have gone Mexico? Do you think if he'd gone Mexico, would he have been called up?
Probably not. If Santi Jimenez didn't get called up.
That's true. That's true. Probably not called up either way. That's so shitty, though. Anyway, that's my surprise exclusion. But anyway, Andre, back to Ronaldo. Who would you bench in favor of Ronaldo?
I found the list of 26. All right, here's the forwards that they're bringing: Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Leao, Joao Felix, Andre Silva, and then you've got Ricardo Horta from Braga, and then Gonzalo Ramos from Benfica. 0 goals this year, by the way. So
but
Gonzalo
last year
Ramos,
he was banging him.
Yeah, but then at that point you're like, okay, is he going to play over Cristiano, over Leao, over Joao Felix, over Andre Silva? Probably not. Now look at the midfield. Everything looks good. Paulinho from Fulham has been great. Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, William Carvalho, Vitinha, Joao Mario for Benfica, Ruben Neves, and then the one that I'm like, why? Mateus Nunes from Wolves. Yes, he's been solid.
Dude, Nunes is so good, though.
Dude, you can't slide Renato Sanchez in there. Why do you need to bring 6 number 9s?
Here's my theory.
I don't understand that.
Here's my theory, though. I think Renato Sanchez fucks himself every time he moves to a different team. Every time he moves to a team, whether it's going to Bayern or PSG, he enters a side with a million midfielders, like a million of them. He can't even break into the starting lineups within his own team half the time, and it's just like, dude, pick someone who needs you, not as a depth piece, like who needs you to start week in and week out, and go be that guy for them, and then Portugal will prioritize.
I mean,
but
when he was at,
there's so much talent on that roster.
When he was at Lille, right? Like that's Didn't they win Ligue 1?
When he was there years ago, and then they won it a couple seasons ago again with
but
the guys
anyway,
like,
but
and all those there.
To your point, why go to like a Bayern? Why go to a PSG?
Because he wants to be a big club player, and I get it. That's what every player wants.
But then you're gonna ride the bench.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Or go to the Prem and do what other players have done. Do what Morgan Gibbs-White did. Go to Nottingham Forest and be the guy, right? Go to Wolves and be the guy, like Nunez did. There's so many ways to be in a highly competitive league and in a big club environment without having to play for Bayern, PSG, Barcelona, or anybody else. Like it's just there are ways to do it.
And the other thing is, not only are you giving up or sacrificing playing time, in turn, you're also sacrificing your spot on their national team, which clearly is evident now. So
exactly.
To me, that's a big one.
I don't know. I think he shot himself in the foot, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I think Portugal is a pretty stacked team. I still don't know how they line up because to me they have like non-traditional wingers and center forwards.
Sure.
And I don't know how they're going to end up lining up, but we'll see. But as we talk about lineups, predictions, we're going into the final 2 groups of our group stage prediction series, groups G and H. Let's start with Group G. The number 1 team in the world in this group, we fully expect them to move on. In Brazil, we have Brazil at 1, Serbia at 21, Switzerland at 15, and Cameroon at 43. I don't take FIFA rankings, as we've been saying as a disclaimer this whole time. We don't take FIFA rankings for the end-all, be-all, but it is important to note, especially considering that Brazil is coming in as, not only most people's favorites to win the World Cup, probably the betting favorite to win the World Cup. I would say past them, you look at guys like Argentina with Messi. But in South America, I think people are just chanting and ready for Brazil to, I don't know, go out there and kind of seek revenge because they've been kind of lackluster the last couple major tournaments in a row. But with how much, I think we all saw their roster announcement, with how much firepower this team has. I mean, Alina, can we just go ahead and say this team's going to win it?
Honestly, when I saw the squad that was called up, I was really surprised at like Sandro and Dani Alves getting called, and I think that's one of their setbacks is the fullbacks. Like I don't know how they're going to be able to, especially for a team as Brazil. Like they're more offensive though, so I'm assuming the fullbacks are going to be asked to kind of play higher and get those crosses in and push the play up. The only saving grace for Brazil is I feel like they have one of the best, like a few of the best center backs, like center backs, because they have Silva, you have Marquinhos, you have Bremer. I don't know if there are any others that I'm missing, but I think that's one saving grace for them. And also 3 of their players in the back line play for Juve. And they've been playing together for the past 2 to 3 months. Some of them have been playing for a few years now. And that is Danilo if he plays as the right back, and then you have Sandro on the left back, and then Bremer could, if he's starting, he could partner up with like Silva, who's a lot more experienced, Marquinhos maybe. But I'm just kind of thinking of that the 3 of that potential back line being three players that have a lot of chemistry together. And I do think, even though they are not the flashiest fullbacks that you can get, specifically with Danilo and Sandro, I do think they can do something special. And I believe they haven't conceded. They, as in Danilo, Bremer, Sandro playing and starting, they haven't conceded a goal in about 6 or 7 games for the Juve. So I think that's another really positive thing for them defensively going to the World Cup. If they start. I don't know how they're going to line up.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Militao and Marquinhos. That's what they've been playing.
I forgot about Militao too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Militao, he'll command that back line as the rock, I think. I think too, just to your point, Alina, them, the fullbacks they brought and how they plan to use them. I think they'll probably use. I think Tite will probably use Danny the same way that Xavi did when Danny came back to the Barcelona side. When you have so much possession, I think Danny he becomes less of a defender and more of just an interior midfielder contributor. And so a lot of what he did at Barcelona was not even like his old Dani Alves, right, where he would go down the flank and contribute on the wings. He would tuck in and he would create an opportunity to form a back three and an extra interior midfielder to offer another layer of possession. I don't even know if he starts, to be honest. I'll be frank. I thought it was kind of crazy to see him included in the roster too.
Yeah,
but also pretty damn romantic. And I love that we're going to see Danny in his last World Cup. That the Mexican fans and the Brazilian fans are all going to be kind of cheering on Danny simultaneously, right? He's playing at Pumas now, so I don't know. It's pretty romantic to see him there. I think we can all pretty confidently agree, right? Like there's so much firepower. I don't even know who starts on the wings for Brazil, right? They got the likes of Vini, Rodrigo, Rafinha, Gabriel Martinelli, and then you have Gabriel Jesus up top. This team just has so much to work with. Like Tite just has an unlimited breadth of options. Like,
I mean, the fact that you leave a guy out like Bobby Firmino, which again he hasn't been the best, but it's Bobby Firmino, dude. He's been playing for the national team for so many years. The fact that he got snubbed just tells you how deep they are, especially up top. So yeah.
And I will say that, talk about snubs. I mean, it was kind of weird to see. And granted, I've seen Richarlison play for Brazil. I know how he looks when he plays for the national team versus the club team, so I'm not going to make that comparison. But I do think that Firmino is someone who's done pretty well on both sides of that coin, not just one. And in my opinion, deserved it a little bit more. But especially Richarlison coming off an injury recently. I just don't know what kind of form he's going to be in. But we'll see. But I don't want to spend too much time in Brazil because they are the number one team in this group. They are the betting favorite alongside France. So let's move past them just a little bit and focus on the other three teams. If Brazil's getting first, Andre, is Switzerland the clear second here? Because in my opinion, Serbia's got more than enough power here to cause an upset. But some players from Switzerland, a.k.a. Granit Xhaka, are doing things right now that most aren't in terms of form for their club teams and whatnot. I feel like this is a slightly different version of Switzerland. So if you had to pick between those two teams right now, which one are you leaning more towards and why?
If I were to look at it on paper, probably Switzerland. But I've had this feeling about Serbia for a while. I actually
because of Mitrovic, right?
Especially because of Mitrovic.
Hell yeah, bro.
No, I just think they have a lot to offer from like a dark horse perspective that like a lot of people don't realize. I think Serbia have this is kind of their golden generation if you really think about it. And with the squad that they have, I mean, I saw the 26. Like they have depth everywhere, right? So it's not even about the front three because obviously Mitrovic and Dusan Tadic, he's been fantastic. But dude, they just have so much. My boy Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, come on. So I'm telling you, dude, don't sleep on Serbia. I have them as second place in the group.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Man, it's really interesting. Those are all good points. It's so tough for me because Switzerland, they're one of like the few teams. I don't know if you guys do this. They're in like this group of a few different European teams. One of the few to have reached the knockout stage in each of the last 4 major tournaments.
Yeah.
And they upset. Think about the Euros. They did. Now, granted, it was due to Mbappe missing this crazy PK at the end of it, right? But Switzerland knocked him out. Jan Sommer had a crazy, crazy big game, kind of a crazy big tournament. Xhaka's on the form of his life. I think that I don't know what to expect from. I don't know if chemistry is even that big of an issue for Serbia, right? I mean, Mitrovic will be a problem. I can tell you that. But I'm not scared of Luka Jovic. I think he's doing
He
things
may not
for
even play.
Fiorentina, okay.
Yeah.
Well, still, I'm just saying, like, I'm not really scared of Luka Jovic. And Dusan's Dusan. He's been that way for Ajax for years now. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to follow. I think that when they play each other, obviously, there's kind of that one game that makes the group, sort of pivotal, right? And we talked about Mexico, Poland. I think Serbia, Switzerland is that game in this group, but I don't want to write off Cameroon. We talk about how often the team who's ranked the lowest in any group often is poised to cause upsets. This is their 8th World Cup. Do we feel like, which by the way is more than any other country in Africa, in the history of Africa when it comes to this tournament, do we feel like there's any opportunity for them to come in here? I mean, in the Africa Cup of Nations, they didn't go crazy far.
No.
I don't know if this is an African team that we can get excited about in the same way that we're getting excited about Senegal or Ghana or anybody else.
I don't think so. I think this group doesn't do them any favors because of what you just said. You play Brazil, okay, take the L, right? Brazil's going to take the dub. But then when it comes to the other two, Serbia and Switzerland, it also depends on, the form that those teams are in. Like the first game for Cameroon and Switzerland, they have to get 3 points out of that. Otherwise, it's just going to be pretty much impossible. And, based on everything that we're talking about, how Switzerland always advance to the next stage, blah, 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 it's going to be tough. If they lose to Switzerland, I see zero hope for Cameroon.
I think what their saving grace might be, bro, if there was ever a player that has been informed, that doesn't get a ton of headlines, Choupo-Moting, man. I mean, the guy's been, like, Bayern hasn't been able to find someone clear-cut to continue to score goals week in and week out over the last month, and Choupo-Moting's been that guy. Fucking dude scored 2 against Barcelona.
He's going to Man United, I heard.
If he goes to United,
I heard a rumor.
I mean,
we'll see.
He's more clinical than anybody they got on their roster, so I can't even talk that much shit. But at the end of the day, is he enough to get past the likes of like Brazil and Switzerland and Serbia?
He can't do it alone.
I think so, but
you know what I mean? Like he's not one of those guys that's going to put the team on his back and just be like, all right, feed me the rock.
No, but Cameroon's got a good spine though, right? It's like they got Onana at keeper.
Yeah,
which,
that's fair.
Onana's a good keeper, and then you got
Anguissa plays in the middle,
from Napoli, right?
Yeah.
And Napoli's on a fucking tear of all tears right now.
Sure.
And then you have up top and Choupo-Moting. It's just, I guess, it's a matter of getting every other player on that roster to buy into the experience those guys have.
I agree with
that. I don't know if there's enough, right? Like, again, not trying to knock them. We'll see what happens. But prediction time in the group. How do you see this finishing? I think we already heard Andre say, what was it, bro? Brazil, Serbia, or Switzerland?
Yep. No, Brazil, Serbia. Serbia's my dark horse, dude. They're going to go far, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Alina, same?
Yeah, I agree with that. Serbia are my dark horse in the whole World Cup, actually. Not even just in this group. I do think they are going to be one of those severely underrated teams. I think people have no idea how they're going to play. You got Tadic, you got Kostic.
Yeah.
You got Vlahovic. Jovic is okay. I think he's going to be... He might actually have to start for a little bit, too, because I think Vlahovic is injured. I think he's been dealing with, like, a groin issue that's kind of, like, coming in and coming out. So I don't know if he's going to start all the games. The only thing that could maybe go wrong for Serbia in terms of finishing second would be their defense, because I'm not too familiar with how deep their defense is and how experienced
it's not very deep. They maintained one clean sheet, I believe, in qualifying.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's not a good start to go into the World Cup with. But I think it's going to be very close between Switzerland and Serbia for second. I do think that the X factor, I think Serbia has more X factor players than Switzerland, but I do expect Brazil to finish first.
So here we go. I think this is a repeat of 2018. A lot of people don't remember Brazil and Switzerland beat out Serbia to exit the group stage. I think it happens again. I think this version of Switzerland with Akanji now playing lights out for City in the back, with everything they have. And of course, I'm biased because my boy Granit's playing for Switzerland as well. But I can see them doing it. I can see them finding a way to get enough goals past Serbia to get past them in the group stage. So I will take Brazil and Switzerland. I also think that one of those two teams is going to find a way to nick a point from Brazil. Do
you think so?
Like, I don't know. I could see it. It wouldn't surprise me. This tournament always has those. And there's so much pressure on the biggest countries in the world to do it. So
that's fair.
If Mexico could take a point off of, Neymar's Brazil, a few years back.
Yeah.
With
in Brazil,
playing the
way.
game of his life in Brazil.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that anything's possible, and I could see Brazil not getting max points in one of these games. But nonetheless, they go through as first. I have Switzerland going through as second, but the majority in this group have Serbia. We'll definitely see.
That'll be a fun group, actually.
It is. It's going to be
especially if Cameroon
fun to watch.
If Cameroon steps up and they get nick points here and there, or they beat Switzerland the first game, that group is going to be upside down. It's going to be nice.
Yeah. And if it happens, great, right? It's on this same trend of modern football kind of leveling the playing field. Just keep in mind, Cameroon, historically, they've only made out of groups one time. I don't expect them to really make any waves here. But nonetheless, you do want to see guys like Choupo-Moting who are in form carry some of that form into a big tournament like this and cause some upsets. We'll see what happens. Group H. Lot here to
Spicy
unpack.
group.
And I've been waiting for this group. I think Andre and I both have players we really want to talk about in this group. But let's jump into it. We have Portugal coming in a FIFA ranking of 9, Ghana at 61, Uruguay at 14, and the Korea Republic, aka South Korea, at 28. So, and we're talking about the Korea Republic. We're talking about obviously almost everybody just hangs on Heung-min Son. But we'll jump into that here in a second. Let's start with, and we were alluding to it before, the exclusion of Renato Sanchez, which means that this Portugal team should be, anyway, if they're excluding a guy like that, it should be stacked from defense to midfield to the attackers up top. A lot to unpack here. Let's start with Andre. This team, if they end up... Well, I'll put this out here first before we even jump into Portugal specifically. Whoever takes second place in this group, let's remember, they will likely play against Brazil in the round of 16, which makes this really, really interesting. In my opinion, it could be Portugal. It could be Uruguay. I guess we'll really find out. But starting with Portugal, did they bring you mentioned before, let that Renato Sanchez. If they're leaving out players like that, this team should be stacked, right, Andre? This team should be, everyone should be fearful of this team led by Cristiano Ronaldo.
Their fearless leader who hasn't played any minutes.
That it hasn't played any minutes, and we're going to leave out the Piers Morgan interview that just happened. So right before a World Cup, getting out there and shitting on his team and his manager. I love it.
NBD.
I love it.
Yeah, bro. It's more Ronaldo things. With this team, Andre, let's talk about, with these players, Diogo Jota being, left out because of injury. Is there enough firepower for them to easily walk out of this group at number 1?
No. I think...
You don't think so?
No, I think you may have tweeted it too. I think people are sleeping on Uruguay, dude. People are sleeping on Uruguay. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, well yeah, for sure.
I think Uruguay is going to win the group, avoid that matchup against Brazil, and go far again. And I think we see a Portugal-Brazil matchup in the round of 16. I don't think they have enough, say, 6 years ago when they won the Euros, for me to consider them, winning the group. Not only that, but also, getting to the semis, for example. It would be great. I mean, it would be awesome. It would be, that whole romance story of Messi and Ronaldo meeting in the final. I've seen a lot of predictions from whether it's pundits or even I think FIFA did one where they just did a randomized World Cup and Argentina was the final. So it could happen. I know.
To break the internet.
The world would end. Exactly.
Yeah.
But in this group, the likes of Ghana, we haven't even talked about Ghana or South Korea. Those nations, to your point earlier, those are the types of teams that will nick points here and there. Those are the types of teams that are so annoying to play against. So,
and something to reinforce the point we made in the last group, right? Portugal, for anybody who didn't watch qualifying and just paying attention to all the household names they have on their roster, they finished second in their group behind Serbia.
I know.
So as many goals as Serbia conceded, they ended up scoring enough to finish first.
Yeah.
And Portugal had to go into a playoff where they in turn then qualified for the World Cup. So they didn't sputter towards the end of the qualifying stages, but they definitely were missing that clinical finishing touch. Ronaldo didn't have it. And then you got to remember, they were still trying to figure out who to best complement Ronaldo with, right? Was it Bruno? Was it Bernardo Silva? How do you juggle all of those midfield pieces together in a way that complements this very aging striker at the top of that attacking force? I don't know. Remember, if you go back to the last international tournament that we all watched them play in, the Euros, right? They, just like France, they crashed out early. So I don't know. Do we feel like Alina? Do we feel like we're going to see a similar exit, round of 16, maybe quarterfinal, or is this group is this team poised to win the group and then go on and really make a run towards the final?
Man, I really, really, really want to see Messi versus Ronaldo, possibly for the last time ever.
Yeah.
So whatever needs to happen for them to play, I want that. So I guess they should definitely come in first because they have to avoid Brazil. I think if they come in second and Uruguay finish in first, it's GG. It's over for Portugal. I don't see them being able to beat Brazil. And I think with how dominant Brazil look in their group too, I think it's pretty much set in stone that they're really going to finish first. So it just depends on who finishes first and second in this group. I do agree with the points that you guys made about Uruguay, though. I mean, they have so many. I think it's a mixture of just experienced players and younger players. I mean, you have Cavani and Luis Suarez, and then you have some of the newer players like Nunez and Valverde, who's, I think you mentioned like he's one of the best CMs in the world, if not the best. And then Bentancur is doing it really well for Spurs too. I think he scored like
twice this past weekend.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think he scored. I think I read a stat about how he scored more goals. The last few months with Spurs, and he's done with Juve his whole career. So that's an interesting point to make. Also, because Spurs are more pragmatic and they don't really attack that much. So I think it's even more interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah,
but
I agree. I
don't know.
I think Uruguay is
going to be crazy.
It's a really interesting team to look at. And guys, we talk about dark horses. We've all kind of said, right? Andre mentioned Serbia. I've been talking about it on Twitter and on this show. Yep. Uruguay is my dark horse to go far in this tournament. I think where I had some of the biggest question marks weren't in attack. I feel like you mentioned Bentancur and how he's found as an interior midfielder has found his kind of finishing foot, if you will. He's coming off of the back of 2 goals against Leeds this past weekend. I mean, Andre, that game made me drink. Like I was so down to watch Leeds take that W, and then out of nowhere, the end game changed it. But even past that, right? Valverde on a complete tear since April, May of earlier this year, and hasn't really stopped. Darwin is Darwin. I mean, at the end of the day, Nunez is not the most informed striker at the moment, but still
he's dangerous enough
to score goals. Yeah, he's so dangerous going forward. My biggest questions were always in the back. Now that we know Araujo from Barca is going, I think he beefs up that back line in a really big way, a very experienced back line to top it off. And then it's how romantic is it, right? To see Luis Suarez called up. I don't think we'll see his chompers in this tournament, but like nonetheless, man, like he's him and Cavani, just seeing those two names mixed in with the youth, the very promising youth attacking options that they have, dude, I could totally see, like they always do, right? I mean, guys, how many times have we seen Uruguay in past World Cups or in past tournaments, Copa America or whatever?
They're just gritty, man.
Just not talked about and then come in, and grind out wins, out max points, get to the next round, and find a way, regardless of who they're playing, to topple giants. I think that there's not enough conversation about Uruguay, mainly because Argentina and Brazil can command that narrative from South America, but you can't rule them out, and there's so much to really unpack here. They tend to start off slow in most tournaments, but by the time they reach knockouts, they're kind of working with a lot of chemistry and momentum. Is it safe to say then Portugal 1, Uruguay 2? If we're making predictions right now, let's start with Andre. Is that the right order, or do we see Uruguay taking this group and, I don't know, maybe Heung-min Son battling it out with Cristiano Ronaldo for that second place spot?
I'm going to go Uruguay number 1, and then Portugal somehow they eke it out and they win second place in the group. I'm going to go Uruguay, Portugal, and then I want to see Portugal, Brazil right off the bat. Fuck it. Round of 16, let's go. Portugal, Brazil. Come on.
All right.
Don't waste my time.
Brazil. Don't waste my time. It's kind of it's interesting rivalry, right?
It is. I mean, think of all the players that have been either born in Brazil, end up playing for Portugal or vice versa.
Speak the same language.
Yeah, it's like a very similar cultural.
So much there.
Yeah, so Portugal Brazil would be a banger of a round of 16 matchup. I just think Uruguay has enough to win the group and to go far, man. I'm telling you, Uruguay, don't sleep on them. they might make it to the semis, dude. It would be great to see. I like Uruguay.
Yeah,
I don't mind them.
I do too. It's hard not to cheer for them. Anybody see? By the way, just a little side pivot here. Anybody see their announcement video?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible.
Oh
No.
my god, I was.
I'll tweet it to you. It was sick.
Oh man,
Okay.
it was like literally like just
so
they
funny.
incorporated people, the land, the cultural vibes of Uruguay, all of it. Man, it felt so romantic.
They
I
went
loved
to
it.
the like hometown of all the players, and they had announced the video by releasing their
Oh, that's
jersey, and
sweet.
like whether it was like people holding the jersey with the name on the back. The last one was sick, Valverde,
Yeah. Oh,
because they
man.
call him pajarito, which means the little bird, and his jersey was on top of the crossbar, and then this eagle came and landed on his jersey. Like it was
Yeah.
fucking sick.
It set the
I'll
bar
tweet
for
you.
how teams need to announce their rosters.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
Like this whole idea of just like, hey, let's just put out a tweet with a graphic. and
Yeah.
that's it. Like, oh man, that
The-
was beautiful.
The England one was pretty good. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I saw part of it. I mean, England's always it was
sweet.
they deserved a whole show. I mean, in all honesty,
I know.
like it was a big kind of extravaganza
I
for
know.
their roster announcement. Everybody was waiting for it. So with that said, we're talking about predictions and kind of who's going through, who's not. I mean, Alina, anything spicy here? I don't know. Do you see Portugal getting one? Maybe they get left behind in the group stage. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna separate into two different parts. What do I want to see? I would really like if Portugal finished first, so
Okay.
I can get my Messi versus Ronaldo possibly down the
There you
line
go.
because I think
Oh,
if they finish second, it's over. Like you can't beat Brazil, you just can't. What do I think is gonna happen? I do agree. I think Uruguay. Now that I'm really taking in the squad and the differences and how Portugal have done after they won the Euros, they haven't been the same team, so they're not going to be solid. Also, they struggled against Serbia and they struggled with qualifying. So I would like Portugal to finish first, but I think what's gonna happen is Uruguay are gonna finish first. Portugal are gonna get second, and then it's gonna be the Portugal versus Brazil.
Oh shit!
go.
All right. Well, look. Here's what I think is going to happen. This is way off left field. I think so. Look here. First off, I'm gonna go team by team really fast. Ghana, love you guys. Not trying to hate. But there's just nothing for me to get excited about here outside of the kits, man. There's just nothing. Iñaki, love you, bro. I don't see it happening. And there's just again not enough firepower on Ghana for them to be in the conversation here. So we move them aside for a second. And I think looking at Korea, Heung-min Son, the chemistry that they have, I felt like in the 2018 World Cup, it was hard not to cheer for them. They were kind of this romantic. I mean, granted, so being a Mexican American, there were so many of us cheering for them so that Mexico could go through, and that's probably what it was too. They keep in mind, Korea also has reached latter stages of this tournament in the past. For those who remember 2002, right? They went all the way to the semifinals. Granted, they were the home nation. There's a lot that plays into that. But nonetheless, I still think they're one of those teams that if they get enough momentum, they know each other so well, they have a built-in superstar that they truly play around. It's not like Portugal where they got built-in superstars and they're trying to just make the pieces work and hopefully they're fluid. I think that they legitimately have built a system that is successful around Heung-min Son. But if we had to kind of put this into perspective here, I think Portugal's qualifying woes are something to really take note of. I think they don't make it out. I think it's Uruguay first, Korea second, and Portugal gets left at home. And those who didn't qualify for the Portugal roster are not even that upset because they didn't get embarrassed like the rest of their compatriots who went to Qatar and didn't make it out of the group stage. That is my pick. I think personally that Uruguay is going to be the powerhouse in this group and that it will come down to things like goal differential or tiebreakers for Korea to just very narrowly edge out Portugal. And they will be the ones to take on Brazil.
Silver lining, I mean, if you're Ronaldo, Dubai is literally down the street. So you can just go to your yacht and fucking forget about soccer forever,
Yeah, I guess, bro. I mean, look, after the way he tanked and people are saying like even tarnished his reputation with the Piers Morgan interview, maybe he needs a hard break, bro. Maybe the World Cup needs to kind of come and go and he needs to do his own thing for a little bit. But Either way, those are predictions, guys. That's really it. We're going to go through superlatives today, too, but I think we could save that for a later time of the tournament. I'm super excited about those. We'll talk about things like the moment of the tournament, the best goal so far, who our World Cup 11
Starting
really
11.
is.
Yeah, dude.
I'm hoping to get a ton of surprises there, too. I'm hoping
Me
that,
too.
what every tournament does, it reveals the next generation of superstars, and we start putting in some names that we just hadn't, lined up next to these superstars that are already household names as far as the Wolves game goes.
For me, it's easy. Just Memo Choa plus 10, Let's go.
Oh, God. Bro, we're not doing this. You sound like every Mexican fan who saw the roster get announced. That is it, guys. That is it for today. On the next show, guys, we have, in terms of what we have coming up, just to get a little bit of teaser for forward-thinking episodes, we have a lot coming your way. Our content will change a little bit now that we're moving into the World Cup. Club football takes, kind of a hiatus for the next 5 to 6 weeks. We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting topics that have to revolve around the World Cup and some of the teams involved. Some of them will directly, align with the teams and the players that are involved in the 2022 World Cup. And some of that will be nostalgic and romantic, and we're just talking about the greatest memories that this tournament has to offer. Past that, there's going to be some live watch-alongs coming to the channel as well. Either myself and Alina, or all three of us with Andre included, will be kind of tuning in and checking out some of the biggest games this tournament has to offer. Less than a week, guys. I am so excited. I can't contain myself. I think it's going to be fucking awesome. But with that said, we're wrapped. That is Box to Box. You guys, if you haven't done so already, please like the video, comment below, share with a friend. If you think we missed out on any major point here, please let us know. Other than that, it was great having Alina, Andre. Thank you both so much. And we'll see you guys next time.